Hello, this is Naudi Aguilar at Functional Patterns, and for today's video, I'm going to be covering a routine to help improve hamstring flexibility. This is an all too common problem amongst most people in our culture today, simply because we do find ourselves in a seated position over an extended period of time, coupling that with the stress pattern on a regular basis. So pretty much if we look at the positioning of the knees here, we're going to be in knee flexion, and that's going to create some tightness right here on the hamstring within time, because we will get good at that range of motion. However, we're also going to get very good at another range of motion, which is here that we would call hip flexion. Well, let's say if we get very, very good at hip flexion, it's likely we may not get so good at hip extension, working from here on the way back. So if I was to stand up perceivably, I would be going from this position, from here to get myself into that extension phase. So in front of my center line, back to the center line. So if I get myself very good at being in this context, I'm probably not going to be so good at coming this way. So within time, what ends up happening, since the hamstrings do work on extension and they're not able to work on that first function, we again then see that pattern of hip hyperextension coming forward, and eventually we see that anterior pelvic shift that I'm always talking about. So we're going to really try and create two imbalances that are involved in the hamstrings. One being that they're going to be tight on knee flexion, the other one going to be that they're going to be also very tight on hip hyperextension. For the first technique, we're going to be covering some myofascial release specifically for that region, so really help separate some tissues in there that I know are going to be bound up. The tool of use is going to be a lacrosse ball. I'll have the camera come over here. If you have a plyo box or any kind of chair that has a firm surface, you can't have anything that's too squishy. Otherwise, we're going to find that this lacrosse ball is going to kind of just sink into the chair as we're here. So what I want you guys to focus on right now is just bringing that lacrosse ball underneath on that hard surface. From there, we're going to shorten the angle between our torso and our femur, and we're just going to kind of lean forward. You're going to slowly let your leg kind of sink into that lacrosse ball until you find yourself a nice little trigger point, and then slowly, as you maintain that pressure on your upper body coming forward, you're going to begin to extend out the leg from there. Slowly, you should begin to feel a mild stretch right there on that hamstring. When you get to that mild point, that's about as far as you need to go initially. As you get better with this, you should be able to straighten out your leg completely. For those of you who have really tight hamstrings, you may only be able to get about this much range of motion before you'll actually start to physically see your leg begin to shake. That just means your nervous system's getting challenged, there's things changing around. It's actually kind of a quite good thing. So again, we just lean forward, we extend the leg out, and again, you can vary where you want to place the lacrosse ball as well. You can go a little bit higher towards the glutes as you're sitting here, and you can find some spots around there. You can get close right to that point where it inserts right near the knee, and work into that area. So what you'll do is work into that about 2 to 3 minutes. Make sure you get both sides. From there, I'll take you guys to the next station that I'll have. I'm going to be utilizing my pulley system over here. If you do not have a pulley system, what you can use instead would be like a resistance band, tying it onto a post, or if you have a resistance band with the door anchor, you can get the same, essentially the same result that I'll get with this cable machine. So you can get pretty much the same effect with the resistance bands. But since I have this available, that's what I'm going to use. So really the way I'm going to set myself up is I'm going to face the pulley machine. I'm going to pull this thing as close as possible to me. Then I'm going to lie down on my back. From there, I'm going to extend my leg out and loop it in to the strap. After I do that, I'm going to try and focus on keeping my spine nice and flat to the floor. So I'm really going to try and almost tuck my hips under ever so slightly. Once I get that entire area flat, I'm going to allow this thing to just kind of pull me back. If you're starting in this for the first time, be sure that you don't involve too much resistance initially, obviously, because then you're going to put too much strain on that muscle. Slowly allow your body to kind of acclimate to this environment. If you start with a low weight, we're going to secure that that's going to be the main objective to do this, that we're actually trying to involve some progression through these stretches. Once you get this thing down and you feel that your muscles start relaxing a little more, we can start incorporating more of a PNF stretch, where we start involving an inhalation, where we kick the leg out, exhalation, as we bring the leg back. You can start kind of going back and forth there, and slowly you should begin to see that leg should come back further and further out of every couple repetitions. You practice that for about another 2-3 minutes on each side, and you should be good to go for that. And then I'm going to take you guys into the next station. Over here I have myself a PVC pipe. What this is going to kind of do is what I'm going to use this for is to set myself into dorsiflexion. What you will also find with the hamstrings that a lot of times the hamstrings don't just get tight by themselves. The gastrocnemius, which crosses at the same point where the biceps femoris is, also gets very, very tight directly as a result of that anterior shift coming forward and placing most of your pressure on your toes, furthermore stimulating those calf muscles. So a lot of times what you'll find is that the hamstrings are not necessarily tight just by themselves. The gastrocs get a lot of that tightness. So if we position ourselves into that dorsiflexion while we're stretching the hamstrings, we're going to essentially kill two birds with one stone with this technique right here. So what I'm just going to do is have my butt to where it's barely grazing the back of the wall. I'm going to reach down for my weights here. I'm going to bend my knees just to kind of set myself in place. And these weights are really just going to act as the resistance to set it up to where this stretch is almost going to be effortless. Let's get it into a side view from over here. So from here, what I want you guys to try and focus on as you're hanging here is not necessarily letting your upper body round and letting your hips kind of tuck under and then you just coming all the way down to the floor. You'll see if I do that, I'll get down pretty low. What I want you guys to do instead is focus on trying to really get that thoracic extension, retracting the navel so we have a nice stable spine. And once you get those two systems integrated together, you slowly begin to anteriorly tilt until you feel that nice stretch in those hamstrings and even on that upper calf. What I really like about this one is that I'm kind of just hanging out here and there's a whole lot of things happening. This is actually still a painful stretch like most other hamstring stretches, but it's a little easier to maintain because I'm not really doing much. I'm kind of just holding these weights here, letting gravity kind of do the work for me as I just anteriorly tilt my pelvis. So don't find yourself here. Get that anterior tilt position and you'll be good to go. All right, there is a hamstring stretching routine that you can do. I had all my people on Facebook say that that's what they wanted to do the most. I set up a vote, and that's the one that you guys wanted. I'll be putting up videos here in regards to the other options that I have available here very soon. If you're wondering how frequent you should do this, I would say you could practice that just about every day. At the end of the day, really what you should focus on is that you correct your posture by correcting these anterior pelvic shifting issues, and a lot of times that can be rooted at the lumbopelvic hip complex, specifically within that hip flexor region. So if you never get at the hip flexor region and your glutes never work correctly, it's likely your hamstrings are going to tend to get very tight. So take these techniques with a grain of sand. They will help you, but you also have to realize that they're not going to be at the root of what's going on with the rest of your body. So be sure that you cover the foundations of all of it. Really try focusing on, again, core activation, thoracic extension. They all really go hand in hand with this program here, especially if you're trying to find that hamstring flexibility. If you do like this video, please like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel to get further information, or you can go to functionalpatterns.com to seek more information upon how to bridge the gap between dysfunction and function. Until next time, this is Naudi Aguilar, reminding you to stretch intentionally and not habitually. I'll see you guys next time.